So what's up, guys? So finally back into the garage. Life kind of happened. Got away from me, was between work and just family stuff. Didn't get a lot of time to work in the garage, but I was able to organize my garage. The Virago project is pretty much done. From letting it sit while work took me away for a while, I have it now effectively destroyed 2 batteries from just plugging them into the bike and then just letting them sit, not having a tender on or anything on them. They are cheap batteries. They're like 35 bucks, whatever. If I need to buy another one, I'm gonna get a battery tender and then just leave it on the battery tender. And then the only thing else holding that bike back is jetting, but I do have all the jets ready to go for once I do get a new battery and finish it up. And other than that, once it's done, I'm gonna do a big video on it, get some good riding videos. Super excited. Like I said, it's just life happened, but started a new project. I found this piece of shit on Facebook Marketplace on Christmas. Was sitting at the friend's house with the wife and was scrolling through Facebook Marketplace and found it. Saw it for 250 bucks. Obviously it is very, very rough, but it is a actual Honda 2006. Let's see if we get that in there. Yep, so it's an actual Honda. So for 250 bucks, really can't complain too much. Obviously you can see rear axles there, but barely in. This is pretty much the way I took it out of the guy's truck and put it into mine. There is no ignition. He does have the the flywheel, but there's no like coils and pickup and everything. So I already ordered one of the inner rotor kits. I know it's not gonna be a big benefit on this bike, but such a small engine, playing it up a little bit. And I've had the Chinese knockoff inner rotor kits before on other cheap pit bikes, and they work. They kind of sound cool when you're revving up, but at the end of the day, they do work. I was gonna actually keep this bike, but then after doing some research, I just realized like to make this an actual fun bike for me, it's just gonna be way too much work. So I think I'm gonna make it up all nice and pretty, do it right though, and then probably just go ahead and sell the bike. I believe a KLX for like 110 would be a lot better actual bike if I was gonna keep it, but it does have some cool parts, some BBR stuff. Hopefully I can clean this up and everything. These actually look like some handle bike, like some regular bicycle bars that he threw on here. The grip doesn't even really twist anymore. Obviously everything's pretty rough as of right now. One of the big things on the Virago project I hated was moving the bike around when it was all disassembled. So what I did was I removed the peg mount and made this little mount. I bought this for the Virago project that I never really used, but I thought this would be nice. And then kind of tied it to this, so that way, as I'm working on this project, I can just kind of slide it around the garage as needed. I think the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and disassemble it, and since the motor is pretty much what is attached to the thing, is going to be kind of the center of the whole project here, I'm going to go ahead and get the motor down first. So let's go ahead and start tearing this apart. So here's what we're keeping off the bike. A lot of the stuff's gonna need to either be, these bolts need to be cleaned up or replaced. Everything's gonna either get painted, powder coated. This may or not get replaced. I'm trying to keep a budget, so if I can fix it, clean it up, make it look new, we'll do that. If not, it'll just get replaced. This is stuff that's already for sure just gonna go ahead and get put away. So now we have it down to just an engine. For sure gonna just buy another carb, 20 bucks for a replacement carb. We're gonna do some type of foam filter. I'm just not a big fan of these big boxy ones. Seeing the rust, so hopefully the inside looks better. I feel like I can clean up that little bit of the outside. I'll say the rest of the engine needs a good cleaning. Some owner had already put a breather kit on it, which is nice. I'm gonna try to just clean that up and keep it, put a new hose on it. The seller said that it had compression. There's no spark plug. So I don't know if it's been sitting outside and it's gonna be all nice and rusty on the inside, but we're gonna at least check to see if it has compression, so we'll know that. But more than likely it's still gonna get piston rings and possibly a new cylinder. So just above 90, which I'm sure this would run, but it's definitely, like I said, gonna get a piston and rings at the least done. Mattering on how the cylinder looks once we get it apart, we'll go ahead and make that determination since they're nice and cheap. I'll leave a description or a link to these on Amazon in the description. One of the reasons I love these little stands though is for stuff like this. They come with 2 of these little attachment pieces, and then they come out of the box with these little rubber mounts that are height adjustable, which work for some applications. But what's nice, once again, I'll leave a description or a link in the description to Home Depot or Lowe's for these. I believe these are just 3/4 inch zinc bolts. And what you can do is they fit in, and then like I did, you can just weld something to these and make your own mounts, whatever you need to be. And you can use 1, 2. I have it just on 1 here, and as you can see, for something small like this, it's pretty stable. And then they come, the jacks come with these shitty adjustment things, but this gets a lot in the way a lot. It's obviously way too big for what it needs to be. So that is a 22 millimeter, and what I do is I just put one on my 3/8 ratchet, and then I have easy up down, not throwing shit everywhere, adjustment, so works out good for projects like these. And because this is just threaded in here now with this on the bench, I can move the mount around however I want, and then if I need to move the engine around, I can just simply switch. It's pretty stable. If you have any issues with heavier objects, you can always just put a screw or a nut or something in here, or a bolt to hold this down so it's not moving. But it's a pretty heavy stand to begin with. It's probably a good 40 pounds at least. And this way you can kind of maneuver the engine as or whatever project you're working on. I did forget to change the oil, but like I said, with this nice stand, we're gonna just go ahead and switch the engine over here and go ahead and drain the oil real quick. So good news, I didn't find anything, or when I was watching it drain, I didn't see anything out of the normal. Some metallic flakes, but like I said, nothing that I would be worried about, so that's good. Actually, the oil didn't look too bad at all, so hopefully the person before was taking care of it. But now what we need to do is get this cleaned up before I disassemble it the rest of the way. I'm going to seal everything and then take it outside. And I don't know if I'm going to need to get the garden hose out and clean it up a little bit more, if I'm going to be able to do it with like a wire brush and some compressed air. So we're about to clean the engine. What I've done is for plugs, I take some aluminum foil. I cut a finger off a glove, shoved the aluminum foil once I've kind of shaped it into like a cone, and then that way I put that in there and just shove it in there. It kind of seals up the hole. Did that for here, and used some of the old fuel line, so just not getting nothing into this vent. Everything else, I wish this wasn't so dirty in here so I could not get stuff, but I'm gonna replace all this anyways. The engine's empty on oil, so I do find any water in there, hopefully, because I'm taking the engine apart in a few minutes after this, so it's not gonna sit in there. We're going to use some wire brushes, some nylon brushes, and these are the things I want to use to clean it. So I'm not sure if this was on the engine or if this was in my garage on my stand, but that's, she's hiding there. That's definitely a big ass Black Widow. Not cool, not cool. There she goes. Much better. Obviously there's gonna be some small spots before I go ahead and paint any of the cases or anything. Something to clean up. Like I said, I think the head's gonna get painted and just rebuilt, but the cylinder's gonna get replaced. There's definitely some rust in there, but not gonna worry about that. But at least now I feel comfortable working on it. It's not gonna be terrible when I'm tearing it apart. So I actually turned the camera off for a minute because it kind of got embarrassing. This top valve cover right here, I think that's what it's called, but the one that the aftermarket one, I destroyed a pair of vice grips. The other pair just kept tearing aluminum off. I finally had to get the air angle grinder out and cut some reliefs in it, and then use a hammer and chisel to chisel it loose. So yeah, that wasn't good, so obviously we're gonna have to buy a new one of these. So I actually had to just run up to Harbor Freight and pick up one of these impact wrenches because the two Phillips head that hold the stator plate here were not coming out. I already started to strip one, and that's why I just called it quits before I even did more damage. Now we can pull this guy off. So this will be junk since we don't need that. The inner rotor kit comes with a new back plate. And here it looks pretty good. I see a little bit of muck, but no metal shavings or anything. Should really clean this all up. Nice. Yeah, so that's pretty much as far as the teardown as I'm going to take it. Disassembled engine. So the next thing I'm going to do is figure out what I want, how I want to paint it. I'm going to paint the cases, the stator cover or the ignition cover, and the clutch side cover. And then we're obviously going to have to buy a new cylinder. The piston doesn't look bad. On top it's a little dirty, no gouging or anything, some slight scratches with use. There's a little bit that looks like burnt in sand, so I'm sure the filter wasn't doing its best job, and it was sucking in sand at one point. But this, it's hard to tell. It kind of looks like it's just orange gasket. Someone definitely had this engine apart in the past. Same thing with the cylinder. The cylinder looks pretty good, but I'm still going to go and just replace it. There's rust in here that I'm just not going to get out. It just isn't going to paint well or look good, and they're cheap. So that's all getting replaced. The cylinder head I've disassembled. I think I should be able to salvage this because I'm going to paint it like a silver, pretty much trying to look like an OEM color. It's going to definitely be cleaned up a little bit more, and I actually, out of anything, I trust the Honda OEM heads more than I would the Chinese ones. The Chinese cylinder and pistons, they do their job, but with the head, I want to try to stay with the OEM stuff. Same thing, I'm going to clean this up, probably lap the valves, clean everything up. Probably get it out and see about cleaning up the intake and exhaust. Not like porting, but just cleaning it up a little bit with the molding marks and stuff. Just make it look a little nicer. Clean the head, the surface, and I think this should be fine. The cam, everything else, lifters looks great. So I think that's what we're doing. I already have the stator on order. I tried to find another one of these that are the vented ones, but I want it in blue. Can't find the blue, so I think I'm gonna just get some OEM tappets just so they look nicer on there. Everything else, top cover and the side cover, I'm gonna just paint. They're fine. New gaskets and everything, and then like I said, it's gonna get a new carb, but this is where we're starting at now, so I just gotta order parts now, and once everything comes in we will